So today I'm going to talk about judgments and bankruptcy because I get a lot of phone calls from folks who are just assuming that if they've already had a lawsuit turn into a judgment, that there's nothing that they can do about that when they file a bankruptcy. And the truth is that's actually not true. For most of our clients, we can actually get rid of the judgment. And what I mean by get rid of the judgment is we can avoid the lien and basically turn a secured debt, which is what a judgment is, and convert it into an unsecured debt, which can be discharged with the rest of their debts. But let's talk about judgments in Georgia in particular. So in Georgia, when someone sues you, and they obtain a judgment against you, they are going to receive a judgment. And this judgment is going to last for 7 years. However, the creditor can renew that judgment every 7 years. And they can keep on renewing that judgment until they receive payment on it, or you discharge it in a bankruptcy. The other thing folks don't realize is sometimes people think, oh, well, it's been over 7 years and they didn't renew the judgment. Guess what? The creditor actually has an additional 3 years after that to revive the judgment against you. They follow certain procedures. So really, it could be there 10 years. So unless you have a judgment and 10 years has passed and the creditor hasn't renewed it, they're going to be able to still enforce it. Now, bankruptcy, usually my clients are dealing with these issues. Someone gets a judgment against them, and then the next thing that my client knows is they get a letter from their payroll department that says you're going to be garnished, because that garnishment is sent to your employer, and then the creditor can collect up to 25% of your paycheck to start paying off that judgment. So usually creditors are either going to go after, well, they'll go after your paycheck. If you have real property, real estate, then they have to actually record a Fi.Fa in the county that the real property is located, but they may do that. And then the other way they may try to come at you is just go to your bank, and you get a notice that your account is frozen. Well, your account is frozen because the bank has received this garnishment that they're supposed to turn over any money that's in there to this creditor per a court order to satisfy the judgment. So those are usually the three things that my clients are really concerned about. I mean, especially, you go to the ATM and all of a sudden it doesn't work, right? It tells you to contact your bank and you find out your account is frozen. Now, for majority of my clients, they've had lots of heads up that this is coming. You got a letter. You should have gotten notice that you had a court hearing. And if you don't do anything about it, then the creditor gets a default judgment, and that's it. They win. So, some people will just stick their head in the sand and just try to avoid it until something painful happens. Painful being you get your paycheck and it's 25% short, or you try to pull money out of your bank account and it's frozen. So try not to let things go that far. But with that said, sometimes I get calls and people are frantic because maybe they got served, but they didn't actually, for whatever reason, they didn't get the document until a few days later, and they're freaking out and they're like, oh my God, they're going to get a judgment and I can't bankrupt on it. No. Most all the judgments that we see, we can avoid those liens, turn into unsecured debt, and get rid of it. So, make sure if you receive a notice of a lawsuit, do not ignore it, because once it turns into a judgment, and also remember, once it turns into a judgment, the creditor is entitled to interest. So check out, we have some additional information in our blog about this, and if you look below, you'll see a link to that. But judgments in Georgia are no joke, and creditors, they want to get paid. So if you're getting notice of a lawsuit, make sure that you are, either trying to work something out with a creditor or reach out to a bankruptcy attorney to see what your options are and to see, what type of bankruptcy you qualify for, and if you can just get rid of that debt altogether. Otherwise, you'll just have to deal with the garnishment of your paycheck or your bank account. If you don't have either one of those, but you have property, well, then there's going to be a lien on your property. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. My information is below, and I'm always happy to respond. Usually you can get me quickly via email, and I'm happy to answer questions about bankruptcy here in Georgia.